Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second episode of Full Court Talk here on Diamond Talk. I'm Brendan DeVenney, your host, alongside Will Brienza. We have a boatload of news to talk about here today around the NBA in episode 2. Let's get right off the bat. This week, we had the second edition of Golden State and Cleveland this past Monday night on MLK Day. It saw the Cavaliers once again just fall short to Golden State. Normally, we would lead with that game story, talk about that game when it's during this week. But, Will, we had a lot of other news and just craziness around the NBA. It looks like it's turning into the NHL, which is unheard of. We saw at least four fights break out during the NBA this week, and it was all highlighted with the post-game scuffle between the Rockets and the Clippers. In case you didn't hear, it was on the same night as the Warriors and Cavaliers. According to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, Houston Rockets players James Harden, Trevor Ariza, and Draymond Green, they all pushed into the Clippers locker room post-game looking to confront Austin Rivers. Security then escorted the Rockets out before anything turned physical. Rockets players, according to Wojnarowski, were clamoring for Blake Griffin too. Chris Paul also entered with other Rockets players through a back story that connects team dressing rooms. As the four Rockets players marched through the back hallway into the Clippers locker room, center Clint Capella knocked on the front door of the Clippers entrance. Someone opened the door, saw him standing there, and immediately shut it on him. When was the last time we heard something like this occur in the NBA? It was all on the same night as the Clippers honoring Chris Paul with a video tribute and everything. Well, this was crazy. When I heard about this, I was like, what on earth is going on?
Yeah, not since I've been alive is the last time we've heard about something like this. It's very unheard of. And the fact that Chris Paul got into it after they just tribute him. We talk about who's right, who's wrong. No one's right. There's no right to fight. It's the NBA. You're speaking with playing on the court. You're not fighting. Go play MMA. Go fight MMA if you want to fight. It's pretty sad that's come to this. Multiple fights. We'll get into the other ones. But just the fact that they tried to get in the other team's locker room, it's dumbfounded to me.
It occurred in the second half of the game, too. They got into it, and I think that's what altercated the whole post-game scuffle and altercation that occurred. I mean, it went to the point where on TNT, inside the NBA, Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley, they bursted out laughing when they heard that the police had to be called. The police shouldn't have to be called to NBA players after the game in the locker rooms when they're going at it. Luckily, according to ESPN, no fights did break out post-game. It was all just yelling at each other. But still, I mean, you're grown men. Come on.
Yeah, the fact that you said Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley, two guys who back when they played, egged on a lot of guys. They were the guys that everybody wanted to start picking fights with. And the fact that they laughed at it, that's when you know it's sad.
Another fight also occurred. Arron Afflalo and Nemanja Bjelica, I believe I'm saying that name right. They also got into a fight. Afflalo, I believe it was, total uppercut. Floyd Mayweather uppercut onto Nemanja Bjelica. When was the last time you saw that occur? I mean, that was crazy.
I can't remember a time that I've seen that happen too. It's getting out of hand, and it's not necessary. I mean, like I said before, you're playing basketball, and that's what should be carrying you to I'm the superior one, is who's winning on the court, not who's winning a fight. And something needs to be done about it. The NBA needs to deal with this. Suspensions might be needed to be put out there, especially on Afflalo. That was an aggressive hit, and it's uncalled for.
You know, Afflalo for the Magic, he's one of their few guys that they have that can actually make a difference on the court. And when he's throwing punches at other guys, Nemanja Bjelica for the Timberwolves, he's not one to, he's an international player. I'm not saying that, he's immune to fighting, but I don't know what Afflalo's doing taking punches at Bjelica. That was just unheard of. And really, it led to then, Ben Simmons and Kyle Lowry. They also had an altercation. It was not as extreme, but it was just like yelling at each other. It looked like Lowry was yelling to Simmons, let's take this outside after the game. Let's, fight after the game. But do you find this, as a fan, you're going to, a Cavs game, Isaiah Thomas picking a fight with Steph Curry. Would you find that entertaining when players are going at it?
No, you said it before. If I want to see a fight, I'm either going to go to an actual fight or watch hockey. We've said it's unheard of. We haven't seen many fights like this in our lifetime, let alone 3 in 1 week. And it's not entertaining at all. I want to see the two superstars right there both got kicked out of the game. You come to the game to watch these guys play, and then Lowry and Simmons ejected, and you don't get to watch them. You pretty much lost what you paid for.
And just last night, we're taping this on Wednesday night, Jason Smith and Michael Carter-Williams of the Wizards and Bob and Hornets, they also went at it. Another fight occurred on Wednesday night. The Wizards and the Hornets, two teams that are really struggling right now. So a little frustration going out with Jason Simmons and Michael Carter-Williams. What do you make of all this hostility in the league right now? Why do you think that there's so much aggression with all these players?
No excuse for it.
And remind you, these are big-time names, too.
Yeah, that's what. There's no excuse for it, but this league is very competitive now. There's so many players out there that's considered a big name. I mean, the whole top 25 of jersey sales is considered a superstar, and they all want to be in the playoffs. There's 16 spots, but 30 teams, but that doesn't give you the excuse to throw a punch at another player or start pitter-patting at each other and saying, let's take this outside.
Yeah, it's it was just crazy to see all these fights in the NBA this week. Hopefully this is a one-time thing, and we don't see all of these players taking it out on other players. Like you said, Will, take it out on in the court during possessions, during the game. Take it out by winning the ball game, besting your opposition, and playing basketball, not hockey, as it looked like hockey this week on the hardwood. But let's now turn our attention to the actual big game this week. It was the Cavaliers and the Warriors. The Dubs came away with another win over the Cavaliers. That's now 3 straight in this rivalry series, a 118-108 win. For the Cavaliers, it was a sloppy fourth quarter of basketball. The Warriors had a 20-6 run. Cavs missed 17 of 23 shots in the final quarter. Will, why so much sloppiness out of what should be the second-best team in the league?
Yeah, we left the studio that night when the Cavs were up by 1, I believe, when we left. And we get back, and I sit down, and that's when they started shooting poorly. I was like, maybe I should turn the TV off. But there's no excuse for it. I mean, you look at the talent on the Cavs team, you look at the talent on both teams, and they should be making 17 out of 23, not missing 17 out of 23. And I don't know what it is lately, but there for a while, when they won that big win streak, it seemed like every shot they took went in. And now it's dreadful to watch.
You mentioned that win streak, and that win streak came without Isaiah Thomas. Thomas is now back playing for the Cavaliers. That was his first taste of this so-called rivalry. I mean, many analysts and journalists in the NBA, they're saying this might not even be a rivalry anymore with the Warriors winning all these games against the Cavs. But for Thomas, do you think he's making a difference negatively on this Cavs team right now? He did play fairly well in that Golden State game, but not well enough that he was a extra bonus for the Cavs to try and win that game.
I don't think he's affecting us negatively. When the Cavs first started the season, they were struggling, and it might just be we just added this new guy to the starting rotation, kind of get the chemistry together kind of thing again. I mean, we might have to restart. It's like starting the season over with a new guy. I don't say sit him, but we saw Dwayne Wade go to the bench, and you saw how much of a factor that made. I don't know. To me, Isaiah Thomas isn't a second team guy, but the way they're playing right now, it's just got to be chemistry because Isaiah Thomas is an all-star every year in, year out.
Yeah, and in the Golden State game, the Cavs had about 3 good quarters of basketball. They played 3 good quarters, couldn't play an entire game of good basketball that they're capable of beating Golden State. Is this Cavs team just not fit to beat the Warriors?
It will take time. When the playoffs come around, hopefully they catch their stride. They always do. LeBron, you know how he plays in the playoffs. He seems to take over. But there's 3 months till then. I think they'll catch their stride. Isaiah will get the chemistry going. Yes, they have a definite chance at beating the Warriors once all their struggles get figured out.
And it's really interesting because now there's talk about, some division in this locker room. Players not happy with where the team is at. They don't see this as a team fit enough to contend in the finals. I think we can all agree that with LeBron James, they'll make it past Boston in the semifinals. But do you think, where do you see this team with the whole division? Because now it sounds like LeBron James, he said it yesterday, he's had struggles with teams in the past during the season. He's been able to fix them and work them out, get them ready for a finals run. But he said this is the toughest it's ever been.
Everyone needs to pick up their own slack. It seems like whenever they get down, everyone just looks at LeBron and says, hey, fix this. LeBron can't fix everything. Yes, he's arguably the greatest player of all time. That's a whole different discussion, though. But he can't fix everything. I mean, Thomas has to do what he has to do. Love has to keep making the corner threes and get the rebounds. Thompson needs to come around. I mean, Thompson is playing awful. The bench needs to come around. Dwayne Wade's really the only guy on the bench. Jeff Green you could throw in there, but inconsistency from the second team besides Wade and Green. The whole team is playing dreadful, and you can't put it all on LeBron to fix.
You bring up Thompson, and that leads to our next point here. The trade deadline is coming up first week of February. The Cavs said that they're going to make a move. What do you think is the best move for the Cavaliers right now?
I liked at the beginning of the season Thompson and that pick for Boogie, but obviously the Nets playing a little better than everyone expected, so that pick's not worth as much. But I could see Thompson being one of the guys shipped. I heard that he may be on the trade block, I believe, and it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he's not playing up to what he's up to his potential, but teams are still eyeing him because they know the potential that he has, the ceiling that he can play at. And we could potentially get someone big out of this, maybe a bigger center. I mean, Thompson's 6'9", not really the height of a center you want. But he's really the only guy I can think of right now. But you know the Cavs, they always go out and get someone at the deadline. Corver last year, now he's our three-point specialist. So it wouldn't surprise JR and Shumpert 2 years ago, really key parts into bringing home the championship. So only time will tell, but Thompson's definitely at the top of the list of being traded, in my opinion.
And other moves around the NBA, it sounds like DeAndre Jordan said that he wants to go to the Rockets. That was a name circling around Cleveland that maybe we can get DeAndre Jordan to come here. That would have been a huge asset and really bring some size to the team. But now it sounds like Jordan really itching to go to a winning franchise in Houston.
I think part of that might have to do with Chris Paul as well. Longtime teammates. I'm just wondering what would Capella do? Would Capella be part of the trade? Because Capella's the big man in Houston. I mean,
right,
and
yeah.
he's definitely one of the best in the league right now. So Jordan, I could see coming to Cleveland because we have the need for the height, we have the need for the center, but Houston doesn't need it, and I just think he's asking for it because of Chris Paul.
Boston also looking to make a move at the deadline. They lost Gordon Hayward there's been talks about maybe bringing him back. I think we can all agree that's probably not a great idea. But they're very close to competing with the Cavaliers. They just beat them a few weeks back. The Celtics, do you think they make a move to try and even the matchup with Cleveland?
Well, we talked about it last episode. Gordon Hayward maybe bring him back for the playoffs for that veteran presence, because the young guys, they're not going to win a series against LeBron and the Cavs. And that's exactly what they might trade for, is a veteran. Like the Cavs got Korver last year. We talked about that. They might trade for that 33-year-old three-point specialist, or the 30-year-old that can rebound very well, or even an older guy that can play great defense against the Cavs. And if they do that, they have a very good shot at being the new team out of the East.
Some other moves around the NBA. Los Angeles Lakers signing forward Nigel Hayes to a 10-day contract with Westchester in the D-League. Nigel Hayes was a name that we heard a while back, and then he just never really bloomed into a major superstar like that we expected him to. I'm just reading this now on USA Today Sports. The NBA is suspending Orlando Magic guard Arron Afflalo 2 games for throwing a punch at Jellicoe, and they also announced that Afflalo will forfeit $32,000 in salary in those 2 games. So at least we see the NBA taking this stuff seriously and giving out fines and punishments for these, in my opinion, immature players.
Yeah, you said it's kind of ridiculous that Afflalo is the only guy getting punished, though. I mean, you said you mentioned 5 players on the Rockets team alone, with Austin Rivers and Blake Griffin, so that's 7 right there. These 2 in this fight, that's 9. Simmons and Lowry, that's 11, and then so 13 players have been in a fight this week, and so far only 1 has been suspended, which is kind of poor by the NBA. But at least Afflalo his punch was probably the worst fight of the 4. The rest was kind of just talking. So I can see why he got it, but if you're the NBA, you gotta be more strict on all 13 players, not just 1.
Some off of the court news. Obviously, February coming up, and that means the All-Star game. We should be getting the rosters soon here for both the East and the West. The NBA announced the All-Star game that Kevin Hart will not be playing in the Celebrity All-Star game this year. He said he can't do it anymore. I've done all there is to do, and he's officially retiring from the Celebrity All-Star game. I always enjoyed watching him play in that game because he said he can actually shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm.
That's disappointing for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's probably the saddest news I've heard today. He was kind of like that Nate Robinson kind of guy. He couldn't dunk like Robinson, but he could definitely shoot like him, and then they had the height. He was always a fun guy to watch in the celebrity game.
Also, Fergie will be singing the U.S. National Anthem, and Pharrell Williams will perform at halftime. Not that All-Star game at halftime is anything to talk about, but that's news coming from the NBA today. So that'll wrap things up here on Full Court Talk. Hopefully we won't see any more fights, at least up until the playoffs. If Kevin Durant and LeBron James want to go at it, I'm all for that, because that would just be hysterical to watch. But, hey, want to give a shout-out to your new show?
Oh, yeah. If anybody on Twitter, it's RITO_WRMU. Subscribe to YouTube. We post the episodes every Monday night. 9 o'clock is when we air on 91.1 WRMU if anyone wants to listen. And don't forget to subscribe.
It's called Raiders in the Outfield. You're supposed to give the name of the show.
Well, yeah, I should have mentioned that. I kind of just figured with the RITO.
Lead off with the name. Also, coming next Thursday night, my new show. It's called The Message. All upbeat music for you Raiders out there. Thursday nights, 10 to 11. So, Will and I and Jeep taking over WREMU. So, until next time, We'll have a new episode out next week. I'm Brendan DeVenney alongside Will Brienza. Have a good night, everybody.